after the first game of these new look Cavs, we talked about evidence, right? We've now seen more evidence. Is this the real deal?
Well, this is what they are, Ebony. They're far more athletic. They're far more defensive, the capability of them playing at a high level defensively. Now, how good will they be? In spurts, they can be very, very good. There's an upgrade. You look at the backup point guard position. If you look at their interior defender, but by getting Nance there, all these things, they've had good shooters. So also they got young. You got guys right now that they're a little more, Doug, I know you'll appreciate this, they're a little more antsy to hear someone's voice compared to, oh, I got that. And, I mean, just their overall legs and their ability to be able to run and get up and down the court. The old NBA, just in the last couple of years, was get older, spot up shooters, and that's how LeBron could be successful. It's not that way anymore. I mean, Golden State is stacked. Houston's got a very good team. And the only way they're going to be able to do was they got younger. Kobe did do a great job in a pressure-packed situation by getting them the assets they did. And I believe all of them are very important. We might talk about George Hill more because he's a starter, but I believe Clarkson, Nance's ability to play versatile positions, they switch out 1 to 5, especially when you start playing against the West, and their ability to be able to put the ball in the bucket. I believe that right there is going to give LeBron the type of energy, I know that you're interested in talking about that, to be able to get to the home stretch and be able to get to the playoffs.
You know, look, the NBA season, the cliche is it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? But when you add in 4 players from non-competitive teams to a team that's competing for a championship, it's like if you're running a marathon and you're at like mile 15, and all of a sudden there's guys that just hopped in the race like, this is easy, this is awesome,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So let me know once we get to the 26-mile marker how you're feeling. As of now, yeah, I mean, it's a home run. They look great. Everybody's happy. LeBron's integrating his new teammates. They look younger. They look more athletic. But remember, it's 2 games together. They look great against a very solid, although not maybe elite, Western Conference team. I think Oklahoma City's solid.
Right.
They're somewhere between the 3rd and the 5th best team in the West. But still,
outside of that win against Golden State last week, they have struggled still as far as chemistry and playing as an elite team.
Right, and the weakness to the Thunder is their bench, and now the strength to what Cleveland has built is the strength in numbers. They have a very good bench. You could even point out they might have a better bench than the Golden State Warriors, because the Warriors, you're depending on Livingston and Iguodala, who are closer to being washed than they are kind of their former star self. That said, like, look, talk to me when there's 30 games together. Talk to me when Kevin Love returns, because that makes them a lot less athletic defensively, although probably a better shooting lineup offensively. There are still some issues with pace if and when they play against the Golden State Warriors. But as of now, like, look, this is like the 3rd day of school. You love your teacher, you love your new friends, you love your new trapper keeper, but eventually it's still school, it's still a long regular season. There'll be downs, whereas right now they're up.
Okay. Yeah, and it's also, what will they do when they face adversity? And, I mean, what they don't have in this trade is a lot of playoff experience outside
Correct.
of George Hill. So what if they get, which LeBron and them have, what if they get down 2-1? You know, in a series, in the Eastern semifinals or finals, how do they respond there? And can they stay injury-free until they get to the playoffs? Because they only have a 1/3 of the season left.
Well, the other part is that when LeBron has been championship-level successful, he's had somebody else who could take the ball and get a bucket in the 4th quarter. You know, Dwayne Wade in Miami, and, of course, Kyrie Irving in Cleveland. This roster probably still doesn't have that. Maybe it's Jordan Clarkson, but everybody thinks, oh, if you put Clarkson in, that means you sit Hill, right? That takes away the playoff experience. And if you play them both together, now all of a sudden you're going to have to sit one of those athletic bigs down. What do you do with Jeff Green? What do you do with Seti Osman, who's provided them a ton of energy defensively and on the board? So, look, they appear to be better. It was a disaster that's going a lot, but everybody feels good about this. This is a healthy divorce for Isaiah Thomas and for everybody, but it's just the 2nd game.
I hear you. So not enough evidence yet for you, Gottlieb, to be all in on these new Cavs.
No, now they're the favorite in the East, like they should have been, but they're not the overwhelming favorite like some would allow you to believe based on the last 2 games.
Right, and we can't just forget how good Golden State and Houston have been. You got to put Houston right there with them. They have the same basically record, one less win in the win column than Golden State. So we know it's going
to. But you put Houston in the same conversation as Golden State.
Well, this is the thing. As far as this show, I put them in the same conversation. As far as because we're talking about who they might face potentially in the finals. Yeah. But as far as NBA history and lore, no, they haven't proved it. Chris Paul's lack of success in the playoff. James Harden, we saw what he did last year. Yeah, Capella.
Mike D'Antoni's system has never
right.
Well
when you start slowing the ball down, right, in the playoffs and the possessions become more and more important. How are they able to do that? But as far as this year is concerned, because man, what if Golden State gets a bad matchup in the semifinals? Because the depth of the West. And what is San Antonio going to be? Is Kawhi going to come back? We know OKC, the Roberson injury is significant for them. So as far as the breadth of this conversation, yes, I include them together because we don't know who's going to be the #1 seed and we don't know who's going to be in the finals. But if you look at last year's finals, where did Cleveland struggle the most? That was when LeBron went to the bench. And last night's example, all the starters for Cleveland were a minus in the plus-minus category.
Right.
Now, the bench, all of them were a plus.
Right.
Now, if you look at +8 for Hood, +16 for Clarkson, +14 for Nance, +14 for Jeff Green, that's where they got better. So it's not as if I got to be balled in, but this is a lot better team than if they face Golden State again, I'm sure they like their chances better with this team, even though they don't have that second scorer in Kyrie Irving.
Now, those numbers you point out about those pluses coming off the bench, that's exactly what I want to get to. Kevin Love will be back at some point, okay? What do you think? Doug brought it up. Chris Carter, I want to know your take on what Kevin Love's return to these new-look Cavs will do to their chemistry, because some people say if it's not broke, you don't fix it, but obviously he's going to get playing time when he comes back.
Yeah, I believe Kevin Love is best fit with the Cavs, and for the long-term success is him playing the 5. Him playing the 5, LeBron playing the 4. LeBron's playing a lot of the 4 now. If you look at last night, how would they be? They would be hurt on the glass. Tristan Thompson got dominated last night by Adams. So there is some deficiencies there defensively, but it also spreads the court. LeBron gets to the hole more now with all these shooters. So offensively, they're more deadly, which Doug mentioned. But those are things that I like to look at. And I believe that Kevin Love, I just like having talented players.
Okay.
So when you add another talented player, how long will it take them to adjust to the new players?
Well, I want to ask you, Doug, specifically, do you think it's worth, because y'all are both saying the trade-off is maybe less power on defense, but more offensive power. Is it worth the trade-off?
Well, it doesn't really matter because he's going to play, right?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You make max money and you average 25 a game and you get hurt, like you're coming back, you're going to play. Sure. So the question is, who's going to sit? Now, and you're correct. He's a very good spot-up shooter. He's a very good rebounder. He can score a little bit in the post, but he limits what you can do defensively. Mm-hmm. And now the only rim protection you have is LeBron James, which can be exhausting as opposed to when you play with Tristan. You can play LeBron some at the 3, but now that means you're sitting one of the guards, Mm-hmm. So it changes you, and I'm not sure it changes you for the better, but it's a change that is going to happen. Like, you think, well, he's going to come back and Kevin Love's going to come off the bench. Like, it's not even close.
There's no scenario that happens.
Right. I just believe the person they talk the least about in the trade is Larry Nance Jr.
Right.
I believe his ability to hustle. He's playing a lot like Tristan did a couple.
When they won the championship.
Yes. So he could be the 5, Love could be the 4, and LeBron could play the 3.
Oh, sounds like it's going to be interesting when Kevin comes back. But coming up, you won't believe what one Cowboys legend had to say about his whole team. Stay with us.